My Jeep Cherokee is buzzing on the road. Passengers are busy with their thoughts and affairs. In the back seat, my two sons were discussing what movie to watch on the rear entertainment screen. They know. Next to me, my 20-year-old wife was worried and angry, like a child. She does not know. My wife Joyce is an ordinary woman. She's not a beauty, but she's not a troll either. Her light brown hair curled softly around her face and framed her blue eyes. Her legs are a little chubby, but I always liked that about her. I prefer my wife's thighs. To maintain proportions, God also gave him a relatively large butt. Another thing I really appreciate, even though she's been trying to put it off for years. It's smaller at the top. I don't like it, but it doesn't bother me either. Call me an idiot, but I love everything about Joyce. She has fascinated me since I met her 21 years ago. Even though I was not yet 20 and she was not yet 22, I knew that this was the woman I would marry and spend the rest of my life with. I think half of it isn't very good, but it's not very good either. I married her, but that was the last day we spent together. Like I said, the kids knew, but Joyce didn't. We were going to our favorite national park for a family picnic. On the last day before my son Brian leaves for his sophomore year of college, my daughter is going to Europe on a student exchange for her junior year of high school. God only knows what steps we will take to find her next year. Obviously, the next morning I wanted to go on a business trip, but I would actually go. The kids had obviously been watching a movie in the back seat and were calming down when we hit the freeway and began the nearly 2-hour drive to the park. Picnics in this park were always Joyce's favorite pastime. He loves it when it allows us to get away from the hustle and bustle and spend time together in a more relaxed, natural environment. I suspect she likes the park more in recent years because I never drive my beloved Mustang to the park. Firstly, because I didn't want to expose the underside of a low car to dirt roads and possible rust and corrosion. Secondly, because the back seat of the car was too small to accommodate one of our children. Joyce has been jealous of this car since the day we bought it. At first he thought it was my third child. Then he started complaining that she looked more like my second wife. He often told her that he needed another wife because she rarely had a career or charity work. I looked into his face from across the front seat. She really lost all her worries and seemed more relaxed once we got out of town. I reached over, pressed the stereo button, and turned on the radio. A Fleetwood Mac song is playing. At first I had no idea what the song was, but I immediately recognized the unique rhythm section. Mick Fleetwood's ferocious, all-encompassing playing style is matched by John McVie's deep, raspy bass. Many years ago, I played guitar in a heavy metal band. Before I started playing guitar, my parents forced me to play classical piano. They thought I needed discipline and structure in my life. Music has become a big part of my life and has helped me get through the years. Even now, I couldn't take my first steps into running without my iPod. The music I listen to often influences my mood and daily decisions. But the music also seems to reflect how I feel sometimes. In this case, the song is almost prophetic. Little Lies is a perfect song, even if it's not one of my favorites. As Christine McVie began to sing, Joyce walked over and changed the channel. If I could turn the page in time, I'd just put it off for a day or two, he sings. No, go ahead, I told Joyce. Close my eyes, favorite music of Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. But I can't find a way out, so one day I'll believe in you. Kristen sings again, perfectly reflecting our situation. Tell me lies was coming out of the speakers so loudly that it sounded like they could have easily sung it to us in the Jeep. My daughter looked at me in the rearview mirror. I realized that I had not lost sight of the meaning and significance of the song. As I watched the film again and Joyce looked out the window at the landscape, I thought about what that text meant to me, for us. I have always loved Joyce with all my heart. She was never incredibly beautiful, even when we met. His personality and optimistic attitude attracted me more than anything else. Our shared experiences have brought us so close that I believe there is almost no one in the world with whom I could be close. Until 2 weeks ago, when I found out that Joyce was cheating on me. I totally agree with Kristen when she sings about putting it off for a day or two. If I could turn the same page in time, I would swap 2 days. The day Joyce met Matt Black, and perhaps the day she fucked him for the first time. But like this song, I can't find a way, so one day I'll give it to Joyce. One last day with the family he says he loves. Another day with an unfaithful husband. I gave it a completely idyllic final look. A fun family picnic in a favorite place before circumstances destroyed everything we had built together over 20 years, and I moved on with my life. She extended her hand to me as I drove. "I love you, Bill," she said, smiling. "I think sometimes I get lost, but I never doubt it." Behind us, my daughter snorted derisively. I don't know if it was a reaction to something in the movie he was watching or something his mom said. I thought, "Oh my God, what a sweet lie you are." "I think it's because you're always busy with school, work, and other things. I was stuck at home and felt like I had no life. That's why my groups and charities are so important to me," he told Joyce. "Oh my God, Mom, why don't you get a dog?" asked the girl from behind. I didn't even think about it. I think of Stevie Nicks' voice, which still gives me goosebumps. Stevie is still as attractive as ever, and he is at least 50 years old. "You understand, don't you, Bill?" asked Joyce. "Sometimes you look at a situation and realize you can't just sit back and watch. We have to do something to stop this." "Oh, he understands this better than you think," my daughter Jessica said. "Don't fight today, Jessie," I said. "There are no accidents or fights here. Let's spend today as a family so that all accidents do not affect us. Tomorrow we will all focus on something else." Joyce smiled and nodded. My eyes met Jessica in the mirror, and she bit her lip and said, "Okay." Joyce shook my hand again and rested her head on my shoulder. She leaned in to kiss me, and then I turned my head and saw the sign we had just passed. Everything went well, and I don't think Joyce realized that I was deliberately avoiding her kiss. However, a series of slaps and laughs from the back seat let me know that my daughter hadn't missed it. I will have to work hard to improve my acting skills. For the rest of the day, I had to pretend that I was a devoted and loving husband. If I had not done this, my last gift to Joyce would have been in vain. As we ate from a distance, I wondered why I was doing this. Did she deny me love or never treat me the way I treated her? Perhaps, as she said, we all have things to do that take up time, but that's not true. But it's your decision. She's the one who thinks the rat race isn't for her. She wants to be a housewife and a housewife. Joyce chose the house we bought, the car we drove, the schools our children attended. She decides when and where we go on vacation. Everything we do bears his stamp. If she's upset or bored, she might say something. I also wonder what Matt Black has to offer her that is more valuable than our marriage. Is he young? But it was impossible to tell from his receding hairline that he was younger than us. Hell, he's 35, I'm 40, and he's not much younger. I'm not an Olympic-level athlete, but I'm in good shape. Matt is a little soft, so maybe it's not about looks. Perhaps like those internet divorce stories, Matt has a dick that's a foot long and 4 inches wide. He'll probably fuck her until she can't walk, and then make her beg for more. I laugh when I think about it because I know it's not true. I saw them together and still can't understand it. Fortunately for me, having suspected this and having received confirmation from scientists, I took a DNA test. My children truly are my children, even if most people can tell just by looking at them. Brian is very similar in age to me. He met a girl with whom he wants to grow old. Maggie Chu is a very small Asian girl he met at school. I wonder if he trusts her as much as he did before we sat down to talk about his mother. Brian didn't play the part as well as Jessica and I did. He loved his mother very much, but was very angry with her. At that moment, he didn't even dare to talk to her. Jessica is very angry with her mother and really wants to solve this problem with her. Jesse is what bothers me the most today. Even if he promised not to do anything to expose it, I doubt he could make it through the entire picnic without causing a fuss. The worst part is that Jesse won't be leaving until tomorrow. I have a feeling that something interesting will happen while I'm gone. Jesse no longer respects his mother. He has already told me that he would like to stay with me when he returns from Paris next spring. I told her that she would always be welcome, but she was only 17, so that would probably be the judge's decision in the divorce. Divorce is a word that breaks people's hearts. Interestingly, 7 letters in any order can topple your entire world and hurt you deeper and longer than any physical blow. When we entered the park, I stopped at a kiosk and paid for admission. "Maybe we should get one of those license plates that will allow us to enter the park for free," Joyce said. "Now that the kids are gone, I don't think we'll be here much," I replied. "This is one of our favorite places," Joyce said. "As far as possible, we will be there as usual." "Just the 2 of us?" I asked doubtfully. "Of course," he said, smiling. "I can't think of anyone I'd rather be here with." As the words left her lying lips, I heard the beautiful, deep, sexy voice of Stevie Nicks singing "Lie to Me." Within minutes, we were all busy unloading food, blankets, and other things we would need for the day. "Jesse, don't put the blanket too close to the grill," I yelled. "It's okay, Dad," he answered happily. "I'm very close to my mother. She says she's cold." "No, honey, I didn't," Joyce said. "Perhaps you remember that we were here." Jessica was next to me at that moment, and I was the only one who heard what she said. "It's more like I'm teaching you to have a good damn time," Jessica said quietly. I turned and looked at her. For the first time, I realized what this separation meant for my children. I know I suffer, but children suffer too. Brian allows Maggie to vent and provide emotional support. On the other hand, Joyce's behavior also strained their relationship. He began to distrust her and became more suspicious of her actions and visits. And then there's Jessie. My little angel clearly has anger issues. I was able to meet with her program manager, make an appointment with her therapist, and maintain closer contact with her personally. I also need to move from a rented apartment to a house as quickly as possible. "Dad, are you ready to go to the lake and see which of us can throw the stone the farthest?" Brian asked. "This is a family tradition. He won every year until I was 16, and I stopped letting him win. In recent years, he has become closer to my children. Who knows? Maybe I'll win this year. God knows my heart is not in this." "Then I became a champion," I said. "Let's fire up the grill and cook some food." He smiled and nodded. He then took out his cell phone and tried to call Maggie. "Dad, there is no service here," he spat angrily. I just laughed. "Brian, run to the lake," Jessica called, driving away before her brother realized they were speeding. This brings me back to the moment I've been dreading since the day began. Joyce spread a blanket on the grass and motioned for me to sit next to her. "I need to fire up the grill, honey," I said, "but please give me a place near your house." "I've been waiting for this all day," I said. Well, my acting skills are getting better and better. Joyce isn't the only one with kind words. What happened next, although extremely childish, is one of my best performances of all time. Joyce blew me a kiss. I grabbed it with my left hand and twisted it. Coming out of the turn, I raised my right hand as if to grab it and carefully brought it closer to my face. Before I knew it, I threw the hand that actually caught the fake kiss to the ground as if blowing a kiss, and stepped on it. Joyce didn't understand the trick and just smiled. "I wonder what you'd do with a real kiss." She smiled. "We'll find out later," I said. Damn, these little lies are getting contagious. "I'm going to pick wildflowers," he said with a smile. "Let me do something when I get back. If you saw that Jessie sent this, then she loves picking flowers too." I nodded as she walked away. Then at the last second, he turned around. "Bill, I'm so glad you insisted that I come today. I don't want to go anywhere right now. We need to spend more time together. We're both busy with things less important than spending money." Maybe we started to take each other for granted because we were always together and knew we would always be together. But from now on, I want our mission to be to do things together like we did before. Then she smiled and left to pick flowers. This is the sweetest lie I've ever heard. As tears rolled down my cheeks, I remembered how much I loved her and couldn't help but think that if I hadn't made her come today, she would probably be in bed with Matt right now. I took out some charcoal and put it in one of the built-in grills they have at the park. I dipped the charcoal in lighter fluid because everyone knows matches don't work. Repeating tasks that I've done hundreds of times causes my mind to wander again. I still remember crying after watching the DVD the researchers gave me. I saw him alone in his home office when Joyce attended one of his charity meetings. The video shows that idiot Matt came to our house a few days ago to visit Joyce while the kids and I were away. Obviously, charity begins at home. Joyce smiled and looked around to make sure no one was watching, then practically pulled him inside. Then the situation changed when they were caught by a camera installed in my living room. They were sitting on my couch drinking coffee, but I could feel the tension between them even though I had only seen them on video. They talk about a lot of stupid and mediocre things, and I wonder why this crap puts up with it. In the end, Joyce's hormones were to blame. Another unforgivable reason. She pointedly asked him if he thought her feet were too big. She said her husband liked her legs, but she thought they were old and fat. He told her he couldn't say what he saw. So of course Joyce took the opportunity and lifted her skirt. "Well, from what I can see, it looks good." Matt's voice was full of lust, but it's hard to make a decision based on incomplete information. "I think you want to keep looking up," Joyce told him, smiling. I could tell by the look on his face what he was going to do next. I realized that she looked at me the same way when she was very excited. Joyce lifted her skirt completely, revealing her panties. "Oh my God," Matt said, looking at her hairy bush. Come and get it, Joyce said. She lay down on the sofa and spread her legs. After a few seconds, Matt undressed and put his clothes back on. If I had expected to see something as extreme or extremely depraved as in a porn film, I would have been disappointed. The camera angle doesn't convey how talented Matt is, but his moves aren't funny. It looks awkward and stupid, like two people dancing with both left feet. It was funny to see Matt's skinny ass between Joyce's flabby thighs. They can't find a rhythm, and their moans sound weird. I wonder if in the midst of their passion they realized how ridiculous their relationship seemed. I wonder if Matt knew what his actions would cost him. I'm sure he had no idea what a hell his life would become 24 hours later. And my dear Joyce, I really hope you are happy in your new life. I decided to be a complete gentleman about all this. I wanted to approach everything in a modern way. There are no cave tactics here, the strongest wins, as it should be. I simply assured them that my children would be taken care of and said goodbye. My lawyer will present Joyce with my options for divorce and settlement. There will be no negotiations. Either accept what I offer or you will get nothing. True, I already gave him little, but if we separated, his reputation would be tarnished in the most evil way. I will burn the earth, and your reputation in our city will be destroyed. Neither the kids nor I will get hurt because Brian will be going back to school on the other side of the country, and Jessica will be in Paris. Once the smear campaign is over, Joyce will not be allowed to sit on any of their committees, any charities, or anywhere else in the city. He had to leave to find a moment of peace. The easiest thing for her would be to accept my terms and move on with her life, just as I accepted her decision and moved on with my life. That day, as I sat in my office watching two lovebirds clumsily copulate, I was so focused on the screen that I didn't notice my daughter appearing behind me until it was too late. She wiped away her tears and said, "Now you know." I just looked at her and nodded. "I wanted to tell you, Dad, but I couldn't find a way to do it without hurting you." "How long have you known about this?" I asked. "From the very beginning," Jessie said. "They flirted for a few months, but it only lasted about 2 weeks. As far as I know, they only did this twice. I heard my mom tell her friend Susan that she was going to end it." "It's too late," I said. "From the very beginning, everything was different." "You can't forgive him, Dad?" Jessica asked. "I'm so sorry, Angel," I said. "I'm just not the kind of person who needs forgiveness." "Very good," he said, smiling, "because I won't forgive him either. Jessica, we need to do this with more calm and dignity, so please don't tell anyone or treat anyone differently until I know what to do with your mother." "What is your idea?" Joyce asked behind me. I was too busy thinking that I didn't hear him come up behind me. "Maybe you shouldn't light it yet," he said, noting the amount of lighter fluid he poured onto the coal. Luckily, I took another bag. I quickly removed the supersaturated coal from the hole and put it back into the first bag. I tossed it into the lake a few times before throwing it away to make sure it didn't accidentally catch fire. I placed a second charcoal stick on the grill, lightly filled it with liquid, and lit it with a lighter I purchased at the same time. "Sit on the blanket with me and wait for the fire to go out," Joyce said with a smile. I sat down next to her and she took my hand. "Bill, I had an idea on the way here," he said. "I know we've never talked about this before, but we're about to start a new chapter in our lives together. Our life has been great so far and I'm looking forward to the next phase, but no, I'm sure it's over now." I looked at her as if I didn't quite understand her point. Really, I just want to be as far away from her as possible. I guess I shouldn't think about how I felt when I saw her fucking mad on video. When I saw her, I felt bad. "Well, honey, I can see you're confused," he said. "Being with the people I love the most makes me see things differently." What Jessie said actually got me thinking. Our kids have grown up and left the nest, which is making me feel a little old, unattractive, and worthless. Life. I was shocked. I cannot believe this. This bitch will tell the truth and admit that she had an affair. I've never heard of this. What are my plans now? Where is my revenge? Damn, that ruined everything. So, I joined all these stupid committees because I thought the opportunity to feel better might not come from family. It's just alienated us from each other, whether you know it in the US or not. Everyone has become even more distant in the last few weeks. "Well," I said, as if I was actually thinking about the garbage he was spewing, "go ahead and get to the point where you start fucking that bald 35-year-old guy from the supermarket, who I assume is still living in his mother's basement." "Do you know that we haven't made love in 2 weeks?" He asked to see my reaction. Yes, I thought. Why would I touch you again after seeing you with Matt? No, honey, I didn't do it, I said, reaching into my pocket full of lies. Well, I know you're waiting for the day when it's just the two of us left and we can run around the house naked, he said. Trust me, this is the worst thing I can think of. You always told me that you burned all my clothes and that I was always naked so you could fuck me whenever you wanted, she said with a smile. But I think some of that will have to wait. We'll have to wait until hell freezes over, I thought. We're not old enough to retire yet, Bill, he said, smiling. I love you, and I want us to have another child. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. I vomited and coughed. Joyce started patting me on the back to help correct the mistakes I had made. At that moment, all sorts of things were spinning in my head. Perhaps she was pregnant with Matt's child and wanted to do the same to me. I rejected this idea because it is too early to talk about it. Maybe she wanted to get pregnant with Matt and do the same to me. Perhaps out of guilt, he tried to resume our sex life, but without knowing it, he ruined everything. I have no idea. I don't mind. I just want to give him one last day of company and then I can leave the hospital. Surprisingly, Christina McVeigh once again came to my rescue. I thought about the song again and got an answer. The second verse of the song says, "Even though I didn't have a plan, I hope you know there's a reason." Joyce, let's not make any plans right now. I hope you understand that there is a reason for this. I just don't want to plan anything right now, I said, echoing the sentiment of the song. Oh, you've wanted me for a long time, he said with a smile. It's so selfish. Do you have any bad ideas about how we should treat children outside the home? I simply nodded and smiled. But I think all my bad thoughts revolve around the two replicas in my backyard and Matt's severed head rotting face to face. I couldn't believe that my anger at his behavior was causing me to have thoughts of abuse. As the song says, we're better off apart. Let's try. Joyce seems to have brought out the worst in me lately. She placed my hand over her heart and then placed it on one of her breasts. Her nipples hardened right under my palms, and she pulled me towards her. At that moment, Jessica appeared. Shall we put food on the grill? She asked. Dad, does my stomach have to be a victim of your hormones all day? I nodded and thanked him for his help and then walked over to the grill. I put several hot dogs, hamburgers, steaks, and chicken breasts on the large grill. I also topped with some salmon slices wrapped in aluminum foil. Well, maybe I understand why you wanted it to be just the two of us, Joyce said, sliding behind me. Dad, the lake is waiting for you, Brian shouted. I shrugged my shoulders and walked towards him, accompanied by Jessica as the official judge. Brian threw his first stone almost to the edge of the log, which the children dragged and anchored in the middle of the lake. It was a good pitch, and he smiled at her. Beat that, Dad, he smiled. I picked up the stone, still thinking about Matt's receding hairline and pale face. When I dropped the rock, I felt like I was going to hit the bastard in the eye. Whoa, Dad, Brian shouted. Where did he come from? Your stone flew softly over the tree trunk. You threw him across the middle of the lake. He and Jessica looked at me in shock. Let's eat, I said, trying to drum up some enthusiasm. We probably shouldn't leave your mother alone for too long. Well, we might end up with her having sex with the valet, Jessica smiled. I started to worry again, but Brian just laughed. Can you imagine? He said. They moved with such force that the friction caused a forest fire. Then Smokey Bear launched a new line of low-friction condoms and asked people to use them to avoid getting pregnant in the woods. Only you can stop forest fires, Jessica said in a voice as deep as the bear in the commercial. When we returned to camp, we found that only the hot dogs were ready, so we ate them. After lunch, Brian felt so full that he wanted to take a nap in the Jeep. Joyce wanted to show Jessica where all the wildflowers grew. Jessica asked me to go on a hike. Joyce had never been a big fan of hiking, so she went picking flowers. As we left, I tried to explain to Jess that what happened to Joyce had nothing to do with her. I told him that we will always be his parents and that we all love him. I also tried to explain to him that his mother would need his support over the next few days, as she would probably be sad when she realized I was gone. Why should I help a prostitute who destroyed our family? Jessica asked. Honestly, I didn't have an answer, so I just said, because she's your mom and you love her. Dad, men don't notice, Jessie said. If something happens to their face, they will never notice it unless it is related to work, football, or cars. But girls and women notice it. Let's catch those subtle signals that men miss. I knew. My mom fucked a sack guy, so ashamed. I stopped and just looked at her. "I love you, Daddy," he said. "In the spring, when I return from school and during the Christmas holidays, I will stay with you." The rest of the day passed quickly. We create a lot of family games. We played catch with Frisbee. We look at clouds and see how they form. We ate a lot and even spent time with Joyce and saw her favorite flowers. My son almost accidentally broke them when we returned to camp for dinner. "It's hard to believe we'll never do this again," Brian said. "Of course I do," Joyce said as Brian, Jesse, and I looked on in shock. "But I mean," Blaine began, trying to get his point across. "I know what you mean, honey," Joyce said. "Maybe next time you can bring Maggie. Maybe next time Jessica will bring someone. And then maybe you and Maggie will bring my first grandchild, but we'll still come here. This is a family tradition." "Family? I'll just grow up, that's all," he said, nudging me. "Maybe this will make things better." Brian smiled and nodded. I could tell he was relieved without revealing the secret. Joyce leaned over and kissed me, ignoring Jessica's angry glare at her brother. I can't count how many times I kissed Joyce over the years we were together, but there was something special in this kiss. Some of the sadness in Brian's words seemed to make her more committed than ever, as if she believed that our entire relationship somehow depended on that kiss. "Have you considered my offer?" she asked. There was so much hope in her eyes that I almost forgot how angry I was with her. Some say that the eyes are the window to the soul. The moment I looked into Joyce's eyes, I saw the love that was there. For a moment I thought about doing this one last time with Joyce. Who knows, maybe your wish will come true. Then I realized that if she got pregnant, I would never be able to keep the child. I also hate that I'm raising one of my damn kids in Matt's mom's basement. When we got into the Jeep, it was already night. We all yawned as we began the long walk home. The journey home will be longer, as we will have to drop Brian off at the airport. He flew to the university to spend the day with Maggie before classes started. Maggie went back to school this afternoon, and I don't think she knew he was coming. I think Brian wanted to show up at his apartment in the middle of the night to check on him, see if she's there, see if she's there, see if she's alone. Damn it, Joyce. Her scam is ruining our children's lives. He ruined countless lives due to his insecurities and boredom. None of us will be the same. Entire families are separated and devastated. I really hope Matt deserves it. "Honey, can you drive a car?" she asked. "I'm fine," I said. "I have a lot on my mind." "Oh," she says, "we have made a decision?" I was actually thinking about something else at the time, but I decided it wouldn't hurt to tell one more sweet little lie. I want him to be as happy as possible on our last day together. The purpose of this day was to give both of us a chance to look at the ideal in our lives, to take one last snapshot of the love we had felt for most of our adult lives. As the song says, I can't find a way out, so one day I decide to believe in you. It seems fitting that the best way to make her happy is to make her believe that she is getting what she wants. "I'm trying to think of a name," I whispered. The look on his face was priceless. This is love, adoration, and passion at the same time. She always looked at me the same way until she started fucking Matt 2 weeks ago. From that moment on, all I saw on his face was guilt and doubt. "Baby, are you really gonna fuck me tonight?" she whispered to him. "When I wrap my thick legs around you, will you fuck your pussy until you spill your baby juice all over me and give our bad boy another sister or brother?" she whispered, gently stroking my penis. "We have to wait until I return from my trip the day after tomorrow," I said. "We don't want Jessica to hear us. That would be terrible." When we got home and headed to the airport for our connecting flight, I was confused. It seems Joyce has really found herself. Even the way she continued to hold my hand showed that no matter what happened, she still loved me. Perhaps, she said, it was simply because she was bored, lonely, and neglecting important things. Was this just a forgivable mistake in a strong marriage that I completely destroyed due to selfishness and self-doubt? I really need to figure out how I feel about this. When I said this, I realized that I had gone crazy. Men, at least most of us, have no influence on how we feel. Women do this. Men react according to our instincts. Then we analyze the situation and follow logic. My instinct was to suck Joyce in like a fish and then cut Matt with her. Analysis tells me that if Joyce had done this stupid thing once and gotten away with it, he would have tried it again sometime in the future. So my intuition and my logic told me that it was time to move on, despite what my heart was telling me. I won't be dependent on your hormones for the rest of my life. Life is too short not to enjoy it. At the airport, Joyce and Jesse fell asleep while I let Brian out. Even though we gave him a debit card to pay fees and other expenses, I slipped him the money. I hugged him again. Dad, remember, write to me as soon as you find out which office you are moving to. Jesse and I are going to Hawaii. Oh, and I'll bring Maggie for Christmas. We could do it. To give him time to get the new place in order, he said. But let me know, Thanksgiving on the beach sounds good. Brian, what if your mother and I were still together? I asked. He looked at me questioningly. So it can be a pretty miserable Christmas when she's checking under the tree to see if she got a present from her boyfriend, or checking the number of seats at the table to make sure she hasn't invited him, chimney to make sure he's not trying to hurt Santa. I love you, Dad. Just do what's right for you. We will support you no matter what comes. He rubbed Jessica's head and kissed her tenderly. Don't tell me I did it, he said, smiling. Then he walked to the terminal, no longer just my son, but a man in his own right. I got back into the car and drove home. Joyce moved closer to me as Jessie snored softly behind her. And even as she slept, Joyce instinctively moved closer to me. I love you, Billy, he said. This confuses me even more. This woman told me she loved me while I was sleeping. Can you pretend? And one more thing. The way he treated Matt was completely different from the way he treated me. Did I lie to you? Or was he just pretending to be me for almost 20 years? Do I really want to lose 20 years because she slept with some pathetic loser twice? I also began to doubt my plans. It was a little cowardly to leave, without telling me why I was leaving. If your dog makes a mistake, you should at least hit him with a newspaper to prevent him from pooping on the floor. 20 years later, didn't Joyce have a right to know why I ended our marriage? Shouldn't we give him a chance to respond? I think this is a sign of my mature side. The best we can do is make some coffee, invite Matt over, and the three of us can sit down and talk about it like rational adults. What the hell was I thinking? I could watch a lot of Lifetime Network movies. This bastard betrayed me. She doesn't deserve to suffer. Wake me up when we get to the airport so I can say goodbye to Brian, she whispered. Well, we left the airport 20 minutes ago, I said. We'll be home in 15 minutes. Joyce opened her eyes. Is Brian gone? She asked. I nodded. But he didn't say goodbye or anything, she said. I realized that I was suffering. He said goodbye to me, Jessica said, deliberately twisting the knife. It's hard to pretend to be asleep when your monkey brother is drooling on you. I think that's how they show you that they love you. Go back to bed, Jesse, I said. The way he smiled in the rearview mirror showed that he had made his point. He knows you're tired, honey, I told Joyce. He wants you to sleep. He knows his committee still has work to do as he took time off to be with us. I should be with you, he said. No more committees, no more charities, no more projects, except for one thing you and I will work on together. Is this another little lie, or is he telling the truth? I can't say anything more. I drove to the house and took Jessica to her room. I love you, Daddy, she whispered. Forever. I love you too, my angel, I said as I left. Be sure to call me when my plane lands so I can tell you how it's going, he said. His eyes were wide open and wide awake. Dad, I live with you. In our state, children over the age of 13 have the right to choose which parent they want to live with. I'm 17 years old, so I chose Hawaii because I'm beautiful in a bikini. He achieved great success. I wonder why he raised Claudia. Jesse, if you were awake, why would I carry you up these damn stairs? I asked. Because today is the last time we do anything, he said quietly. I remember when I was little, I always felt safe when you carried me up the stairs and laid me down. After tonight, neither you nor I entered this house again, so I thought, feel it. I just nodded. Maybe it's in another house. Or maybe one day you'll see me carrying my grandson up the stairs of your house, I said. Yes, it will be great, Dad. You can explain to him why he doesn't have a grandmother while you do this, he said bitterly. Who knows, I said. Maybe we can still save him. No, Dad, he said seriously. You cannot. You are not that person. If you were him, you would not be the father I love and respect. It's time to give you a new start. With someone who really loves you. Maybe there is someone there already waiting for you. When I returned to the car, Joyce was still snoring. I opened the door and lifted her from her seat. Her arms reflexively wrapped around my neck, and I carried her to our room. I laid her on the bed and began to undress her. At the end of the day, I put her to bed and kissed her one last time. I love you, Billy, he said as I lay down next to him. True statement or sweet little lie? Somehow it doesn't seem to matter anymore. I love you too, Joyce, I replied, the last of my tears streaming down my cheeks. I'm lying in the bed we've shared since we got married. It makes sense that here he is contemplating his end. It's like I've come full circle. While I was trying to sleep, all sorts of questions were running through my head. Was he thinking clearly? Should I try to repair our relationship? Do I still like it enough to try it? Has Matt ever been fucked in this bed? The last sentence made me angry. Does she really love this idiot more than me? Or is he just someone who will come in handy when he needs someone else's dick? I worked hard my whole life to give him what he wanted, and this is his way of repaying me. Somewhere during the night, I fell asleep. My sleep was not restful. I always dreamed of Joyce and Matt living in my house with my kids while I was stuck in their mom's basement. I showered, got dressed, and packed all my toiletries and personal items into my suitcase before the sun came up. I quietly walked down the corridor and hugged my daughter goodbye. "I love you, Daddy," she said, making his eyes widen. "The adventure begins," he said, smiling. "See you in a few months or less. Say hi to Claudia for me. Jessica will be leaving for the airport in about 3 hours. Then Joyce will be alone for the first time in her life. I hope Matt finally makes her happy. The surprise that I prepared for him will be a wonderful proof of his love," I thought and laughed. I got into my Mustang, started the powerful engine, and took one last look at the house. Part of me is sad. The end of my marriage was unhappy. On the other hand, I am also looking forward to what life has in store for me in the future. I called the office on the way to the airport. I wanted to leave a message for my former assistant, Claudia, but I couldn't get through to her voicemail. I entered the switch number. Surprisingly, I still haven't received the voicemail. I have a real human voice. Ellen Magnuson, our operator and receptionist, answered the phone, although I was surprised that she was in the office at 6 a.m. "I'm here every morning at this time," he said. "Alan, I need to leave a message for Claudia Denton," I said. "Claudia no longer works in this office," Alan replied. "He moved yesterday." "Where he was?" I asked. "I don't have that information," Alan said. This surprised me. Claudia is almost like a second wife for me in the last 10 years. I hired her right out of college, and she was the perfect assistant. I am very sorry that I treated you so cruelly. I think the breakup with Joyce bothered me more than I thought. I spent several days trying to find out where she was and then contacted her. Once that was done, I went to the moving company I hired. Of course, I chose the Honolulu office as my new place of work. Jessica had nothing to do with this, but I'm glad my daughter is happy with my choice. I took my Mustang to a moving office near the airport. The car was taken ashore and transported to the island for me. The car arrived about a day after I did this. I took the bus from the transport office to the airport. I checked in and sat in the terminal waiting for my flight. About 15 minutes later, a woman sat down next to me. I didn't look up from the magazine to look at it, but it smells good. Her perfume smelled very good, but at the same time familiar. Although her legs are thin, her lines are very elegant. These aren't Joyce's thick, sexy legs, but I think most men on the planet would prefer them. I kept looking up from my legs and noticed that Joyce had a nice small waist and large breasts, although her smaller body made them appear larger. "It's rude to look at a stranger's chest," he said. "Besides, you're not married yet, are you?" "Before," I replied, "but now I'm open to new opportunities." "You shouldn't go to work, Claudia," I smiled. "You are the best assistant in the world." "I know," he said, smiling, "but now I'm open to other possibilities." "Claudia, you shouldn't leave the company just because I left the company," I began. "I didn't leave the business," he said. "I'm moving to where you work." "How do you know when I'm leaving and where I'm going?" I asked. "I organized everything for you first, remember?" She smiled. "Secondly, Jessica told me what happened. She thought we could be kind to each other, and she didn't want you to go through this alone." I looked at her suspiciously, but she just smiled. "Bill, I've wanted to be more than just your assistant for a long time," he said. "Don't I deserve a chance too? I'm not suggesting this. I'm not even asking you to choose me. Can we take it one day at a time?" I just smiled and extended my hand. Asterisk, 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 from 2, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Joyce woke up after the phone rang for the 4th time. After the 3rd ring, answer the voicemail. Someone who calls early in the morning really wants to talk to someone. I didn't understand why Bill didn't answer the call. It's time for him to get up. He's going to the airport soon. She had a wonderful dream about all the things she was going to do to Bill when she got home. She couldn't believe she got away with having an affair with Matt. Bill never found out. She already has everything. a man who can provide for her and give her the style she deserves. There was also a younger man who also worshipped the ground where she peed. Life is wonderful, wonderful. Hi, he said into the phone. Joyce, tell me something, Matt. I can't come on Tuesday, maybe not every day, he muttered over the phone. Damn, he looked drunk. Why are you drunk so early in the morning? Damn, I better get over this. Yesterday, Joyce decided to end her relationship with Matt. She has no future with him. She loved Bill with all her heart. Yesterday's picnic proved this. Now that they had a child again, she no longer needed the distractions this man gave her. That's all he has, just some kind of midlife crisis. Maybe I'll get another one in the future. Although she was careful, Bill didn't notice anything. I love you, Joyce, he said. It looked like he was crying. Are you crying, Matt? She asked. Oh, great, he thought. Exactly what I needed. This idiot was trying to make it hard to break up with him. This worries me a lot. Some people are too stupid to know when it will end. They destroy everything, and then they think they can hold you forever and everything will continue because they want it that way. He needed to wake up and move on. It was over. Joyce, it hurts so much, he complained. Is Matt hurt? He asked politely. Are you sick? Are you in pain? Joyce was glad her husband wasn't a whiny little bastard. What did you see in Matt? This doesn't look very good. He is not in good health. He is not smart and not successful. He has no career goals, and for God's sake, he still lives with his mother. He's also terrible in bed. She only chose him because she knew no one would suspect what she did to him, and he was in no way a threat to Bill. She always thought that she could teach him how to satisfy her sexually, but before that happened, she realized that she loved her husband too much to cheat on him. When they met, she only performed oral sex on Matt. Second and last time, sex is unpleasant and unsatisfying. Yesterday, he planned to spend the day teaching her how to make love to her the way she needed, just like her husband. Bill's cock was bigger, but size isn't everything, and Matt was ready. Joyce, we have a problem, honey, he said vaguely. I love you very much, but I can't accept this. It's not worth it. My mother will kill me. Matt, Joyce said quietly, although it bothered her that a man over 35 was still afraid of his mother. You know, love was never part of our equation. You and I are all sex. Joyce, stop lying, Matt shouted. I know you feel this way too when we are together, but it's not worth it. What the hell are you talking about, idiot? Joyce asked impatiently. This morning I went to work. I worked early at the supermarket. I thought I could make an extra tenner to help them unload the truck, Matt said. I wanted $10 to buy you a gift and show you how much I love you, Joyce. But when I got to the store, they sent me to the manager's office, Matt said, sobbing. He told me they had a policy against employees communicating with clients, especially married clients, and that they had to fire me to avoid a lawsuit. I'm unemployed, Joyce. I've been working there since high school and they let me go. He started sniffing again. As I was driving home, I started to wonder if someone had spotted us and was trying to give us trouble. He was walking down the alley behind the store, and shortly after he started selling, a burly teenager suddenly walked down the aisle and hit me so hard that I fell off the bike. When I approached, he was no longer there, as was my bicycle. I returned home, but before I had gone far, I was attacked by two hefty guys. They beat me. It was very bad. While they were beating me, they told me that I should be smarter and not get involved with a married woman. I woke up in the hospital and my mother was there. She told me to call you and stay away from me, Joyce, but I will always love you. The call came in, and Joyce only heard a dial tone. I didn't know whether to laugh with relief or cry, because I was so sorry for what happened to poor Matt. She was convinced Matt's mother was behind this. This could be the female version of tough love. She finds out that Joyce is married and decides to dissuade her son by kicking him, stealing his bike and beating him. This is an adult version of children's punishment. Instead of kicking him from the baseball team, he kicked him out of the supermarket. Instead of taking the bike, he stole it. She couldn't beat him because he was too old, so she asked some thugs to beat him up. Perhaps this is for the best. Because she's in love with the only man who really matters, there's still no place for Matt in her life. He decided to cook breakfast. She could have driven Jessica to the airport herself. Jesse wants to prove he's an adult by taking a taxi, but it takes time for them to become friends. At the picnic the previous day, Joyce had sensed some tension between her and her daughter and wanted to resolve it. Until recently, they were a friendly family, but now something seems to be keeping them apart. At least things were looking up for Bill. Yesterday was a perfect day. After weeks of flirting with the older teen, she tried her best to remind him that she loved him with all her heart. She was sure that he still believed in her. Walking into the kitchen, Joyce noticed a large envelope on the kitchen table. As he was about to open the door, he heard the sound of a car horn outside the house. She looked out the window and saw a taxi waiting for her. Joyce opened the envelope when she heard footsteps upstairs. Jessica went downstairs while Joyce read the note in the envelope. All it says is, "Press play on your DVD player and play side 2. Joyce pressed play and watched in horror as the latest episode of her relationship with Matt played on the large TV screen in the living room. Jessica walked past Joyce and said, "Bye, Mom. I hope you had a good day with your father yesterday. He hopes it will be a wonderful memory for you, but you will never see him again. I hope he doesn't see me either." Joyce looked at the note inside the envelope. At first, she thought the envelope was from Matt's mother, but after reading it, her worst fears were confirmed. "Goodbye, Joyce. I hope Matt is worthy of your husband, your marriage, and your family. I love you with all my heart, and I was devastated to learn of your betrayal. It will be in a few minutes. The man will give you a divorce certificate." Joyce screamed loudly when she read this part, and then continued reading. "The settlement agreement must be signed immediately upon receipt. If you sign, we will proceed with an uncontested divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. My lawyer will contact you to discuss custody of Jess within 6 months of her 18th birthday. You and I. 25% of our total assets, including the house I'm selling. If you don't, they only have 30 days to find you an apartment. If you don't sign, I will destroy you. Your reputation in our city is so tarnished that it no longer exists. We can live here. That's generous, considering we had a wonderful life, and you ruined it for reasons that still baffle me. I don't want to see you, hear from you, or talk to you, so I'll probably never know why you did it. Honestly, I do not care. Yesterday meant a lot to me, and I was conflicted. I thought a lot about whether we could pull this off. I thought I could probably get more than 6. I never stopped loving you, Joyce, and I still do. But I can never forget what you did to us, Joyce, and I can never trust you again. I can't spend the rest of my life wondering if you're seeing someone else every time you say you're going on a date or shopping. You've done this to me several times, haven't you, Joyce? You would say I'm going to a meeting and you're going with Matt. Of course, you never slept with him until recently, but you still looked me in the eyes, kissed me on the cheek, and lied to me. In the end, Joyce, our end came not because of a lack of love or my inability to forgive you, but because of a lie. All these sweet lies. Joyce died in his heart after reading this letter. She didn't expect or want anything like this. The only reason he started this relationship was because he was bored. All she wanted in life was to be a wife and mother. Her dream came true when she met Bill in college. The problem is that as he grows up, he feels like life has slipped away from him. The last few years have been particularly bad. Their children are almost grown. In reality, Brian is an adult, and Jessica is very close, so it doesn't really matter. They don't need it anymore. Bill has a career, and although he has made the decision to limit his travel to spend most of his time with his family, he is away from home every weekday. He even has a prostitute named Claudia who looks after him while he works. The woman was so efficient that Joyce never had to help Bill with anything not related to work. After Claudia's first year of working for Bill, Joyce became so jealous of the woman that he stopped inviting her to parties and social events. The fact that she's younger and prettier doesn't help either. Joyce's biggest surprise was when she went to a company dinner and overheard someone ask Bill if he and Claudia were married. "They look great together," one said. "They work well together and get along," someone else added. Joyce begins to wonder if her husband is having an affair with Claudia. When Joyce saw the way the woman looked at Bill, she was convinced that if she had the chance, she would jump at the chance to be with Bill. Joyce hired a private investigator to find out what happened. 3 months later, Bill and Claudia had spent a fortune on the service, including 24/7 monitoring, and the company had concluded that Bill and Claudia were just friends and colleagues. There is absolutely nothing unusual between them. Joyce didn't know whether to be happy or angry. When she discovered that her husband was faithful to her, she spent most of the money left after his death. What bothered Joyce the most was that she always knew that Bill would never cheat on her. He loved her and her children too much to put his family in danger. But sometimes he also wonders why he loves her so much. A mostly intelligent woman, Joyce knew she wasn't exactly what men dreamed of. Her breasts were average to small at best compared to the rest of her body. Her butt is too big, her legs are thick, and her shoes have to be made to order. But Bill seemed to appreciate these qualities in her. He kept whispering in her ear that he wanted her to wrap her thick legs around his waist and squeeze him while he fucked her. He fucked her every time he could. He stalks her almost all the time. About 2 weeks ago, Joyce suddenly realized that she was not unharmed. Bill had been following their adventure almost from the beginning, and she was too stupid to realize it. She didn't know what to do. He heard the sound of a car door closing outside. She looked out and saw that the taxi driver had just packed her daughter's suitcase and closed the trunk. If anyone knows where Bill is going and how to contact him, it's Jessica. Jessica and her father have always been close. Bill loved his son, but he also loved his daughter, and the feeling was mutual. Maybe that's why Jessica has been insulting Joyce so much lately. The girl clearly knows that Joyce is cheating on her father, and insults and sarcastic comments are her way of letting him know. "Jessica, wait!" Joyce shouted to her daughter as she entered the taxi. Jessica turned to her mother and simply raised one finger, the middle finger of her right hand. Then he got into the taxi and closed the door. The taxi driver prepares to leave as Joyce, wearing only a robe, chases the taxi down the street. He stepped on a sharp stone and injured his leg. She limped home. When he was almost back in the driveway, he heard a loud whistle coming from one of the houses on the block. The creepy old man who lived across the street whistled and waved at him. She was very embarrassed and ignored him. He limped to the front door and found himself closing it as it closed. She was trapped outside, almost naked. She wanted to cry. His whole world collapsed around him. He sat down on the step and tried to decide what to do. She couldn't call Bill to her house and let her in. He left town on business. He suddenly wondered if there was anything he could do. Perhaps he just abandoned her. Perhaps he never left the city, but simply abandoned his unfaithful wife. He also couldn't call any of his children. Brian returned to school last night. This is also clear now. Brian took the time to say goodbye to his sister at the airport, although she was already asleep. But he was too lazy to do the same with his mother. His son probably knew what he had done and was also very angry. Joyce felt her heart itch. Looking down, she realized that she was sitting with her legs spread. He saw a flash in the house opposite. He remembered that there was a telescope in the living room of the old pervert who had just whistled. He probably had fun looking at her private parts. She crossed her legs and stood up. She has an idea. The back door of the house may be open. But to get there, he had to jump over a 2-meter fence. Joyce pulled her dress tight. He reached out, grabbed the top of the fence, and pulled himself up. His arms weren't strong enough to support his weight. He pulled a large plastic trash can up to the fence and tried to climb in. It was almost big enough. As soon as his weight changed, the lid of the plastic container opened. Joyce opened the lid of the jar and turned it over. It was a few inches shorter, but still close to the size I needed. He raised one leg and jumped over the fence. "Oh my God, look at that big ass," she heard behind her. Joyce turned her head and saw an old man sitting on the side of the road, looking at her through the camera. "You've come too far to look back." He managed to jump over the fence with his feet to the other side. He then fell to the ground behind her. He walked out onto the deck and grabbed the handle of the sliding patio door. From inside the house, he saw that the door was open. When he tried to open the screen door, it wouldn't budge. Joyce tried to walk through the screen, but her legs were already damaged, and she didn't want to damage her things unless absolutely necessary. Angry and frustrated, she decided to call a locksmith from a nearby house. At least he didn't have to jump over the fence anymore. There is a door on the other side of the house, but it can only be opened from inside the courtyard. Joyce walked back to the front of the house and looked around, wondering which of her neighbors were awake. The old man is still sitting on the side of the road, taking them out. "Didn't Bill ask you to shave that thing?" asked the old pervert. "I need your help," Joyce said, unbuttoning her robe. "Can I use your phone? I would appreciate it. And considering the cheap pleasure you get from looking at my body parts, I think you at least owe me one." The old man got up and walked towards his house. Joyce followed him. She always looked around to see who was looking at her. "The phone is here," said the old man. Joyce found the phone book under the table where the phone was. She took it and opened it. The old man closed the book. Joyce looked at him in surprise. Began. "You said I'd trade my phone for the chance to see parts of your body in the open, didn't you?" asked. Joyce nodded. I don't know what the old man is thinking about. Yes, you can use the phone, but there is a charge for the phone book, he said with a smile. How to find a locksmith without a phone book? Asked Joyce. It's not my problem, said the old man. A deal is a deal. What do you want? Joyce asked angrily. He smiled and said, Take off your dress. Joyce began to cry and dropped her dress. The old man took his dirty hands out of the phone book, and Joyce began looking through the entries in search of a locksmith. Early in the morning, he found that the phone was still open and began to call when the old man hung up. Because you did it? Joyce screamed through her tears. You laughed at me and made rude comments about my body. You humiliated me at home in exchange for what most people would consider normal politeness. What exactly do you want now? I'm very sorry, said the old man. You may not realize it, but your visit here will probably be the highlight of my summer. I rarely see naked women except on TV or in porn, and it gets old very quickly. Believe it or not, I was married once. I too had a great marriage until I lied to her and cheated on her. I fucked my secretary. I love my wife, but she's a little mediocre. I had a new secretary, a sexy young man who was a bad typist and messed up my filing system. I wanted him to leave, but he gave me a blowjob under the table. Later that day, I also fucked her on my desk. I was happy, but looking back, I was the only one who got anything out of it, and it wasn't that good. The girl literally stood with her legs spread and let me fuck her. Unlike my wife, she did not take part in this and received nothing from it. Not very good at all. I had a fantasy in my head about sex with a sexy young woman who was having a good time. Anyway, she agreed that I could fuck her whenever I wanted as long as I kept my job. I think it's a good deal. I paid her almost nothing and wrote my own articles, but I got a lot of free pussy from a sexy young woman, and my wife will never know about it. At first glance, it seems that the dream has come true. The next day, as our new arrangement began, my wife came to my office and brought me lunch. When he saw what I did, his heart immediately broke. No matter what I say or try, she will not accept me. I will never find another woman who will make me feel the way she does. I tried, but without success. A few years later, I found out that she was married to someone else and had a son. I wasted a wonderful life because I thought the grass would be greener somewhere else. It's not true, but it's just one of those sweet lies that life throws at you. It happens to all of us. Even the secretary I fucked. She had 3 children at home and a husband who regularly beat her. When my wife filed for divorce, she called her divorce lawyer. When the secretary's husband found out about this, he beat her until she lost consciousness and went to jail. With no income, he lost his home and children. Nobody wins. The old man looked at Joyce with tears in his eyes and gently wiped his eyes. Let me ask you a question, he said. Joyce nodded. What is the opposite of good? Asked. Oops, Joyce said. No, answered the old man. The opposite of good is better. I had a good life, but like so many others, I ruined it by trying to achieve more. I think you reminded me so much of my wife that I lost her for a while. I don't think about how you will feel what I do. I just think about how glad I am to see you. When you started crying, I decided to stop and give it to you, he said. He handed the key to Joyce. What is this? She asked. Here is the key to your house. Your husband gave it to me so I could water your plants and get your mail while you were on vacation. Thank you, Joyce said. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry I'm an old bastard, he said. But I'm not bad. I'm just lonely. Joyce quickly crossed the street and opened the door of her house. As soon as he walked through the door, he dialed Bill's cell phone number. It goes straight to voicemail. I wanted to leave him a message, but I didn't know what to say. I knew I wouldn't have the chance to tell him how sorry I was. He thought for a moment and decided to leave a message later. When he heard about the old man's situation, he was very surprised. Their situations are very similar, almost identical. She has a wonderful marriage with a man who truly loves her and she loves him back. But she was bored. Instead of talking to Bill and finding a way to solve the problem together, she did the worst thing and possibly lost the love of her children's father. He also lost respect for his children. If he had accepted Bill's deal, everything would be fine now. His house is worth more than $300,000. 25% of that amount is $75,000, which isn't bad at all at this point. But this was not enough to keep her alive forever. I had to get a job and find a new place to live. After all, money is essentially chicken feed. He spent all his money in the first few years after moving into a similar house. After a year or two, his savings disappeared. Joyce never worked. How do you make a living? His life was in vain. She needed to find a way to get Bill to forgive her. She just had to do it. He heard the doorbell and stood up to open the door. "Joyce Williams?" asked the young woman with the briefcase. "Yes," Joyce replied, wondering what the girl was selling. "They served you," said the girl. "What?" said Joyce. "No, it's too early. I'm not finished yet. I don't know what I want to do. You should be a man." "I must return these documents with your signature," the girl said boredly. Joyce thought about everything she had done. He also thought about all the people who had suffered from his indiscretions. If Bill drags his name through the mud, he will hurt even more people. He did the only thing he could. He signed the papers. She closed the door behind the girl, sat down at the table, and began to cry. 2 days later, 4,563 miles away, Claudia emerged from a hotel bathroom. She walked over to the table and touched Bill's shoulder as he cried over what that stupid woman left behind. "Everything will be fine, honey," he said. "It just takes time." She said this to make him feel better, but she knew that in reality most people leave but never leave their first marriage. They never experience the loss of the other parent and child. Too many connections, it can't be broken. In time, he and Bill would have a good life, and perhaps have children of their own, but he would always remember Joyce. So telling him things would get better was probably a lie, but this is just a little lie. Conclusion. On December 24th, Joyce walked through the snow along her old street. People she once considered neighbors and friends did not welcome her. Her neighbors, who were close friends with her and Bill, ignored her death and continued to put up Christmas decorations. Joyce is not the same woman anymore. It only takes a few weeks for friendships that took years to build to crumble and wither. Bill kept his word and didn't tell anyone about his actions, but Matt's mother told everyone she knew that 40-year-old Jezebel had seduced her son. The story spread like wildfire and Joyce was ostracized. The only people who seek her company are shallow, horny, and unattractive men looking for a quick anal fuck. Joyce knocked on the door of the only friend she had left. The old man, feeling lonely, scared, and bitter, opened the door and invited them in. "Does pain like company?" Hong Joyce asked. "I thought you were going to invite your kids to spend the holidays with you." "I hope so, Dan," she replied. His voice was full of bitterness and suppressed anger. In just 3 months, Joyce became almost unrecognizable to the woman who cheated on Bill. "My son Brian is an adult now. He can do whatever he wants." He and his fiancée decided to go on vacation to Hawaii with their father to escape the snow and ice. He said he really enjoyed spending Christmas on the beach. Ideas, now he had a whole ocean into which he could throw stones with his father. "Jessica hurt me the most. When we got divorced, the court ordered us to take extra vacation every year. That means this year it's Thanksgiving for me and it's Christmas for Bill. He also asked to spend part of the holiday with his brother and Maggie. So he spent the New Year with Brian and Maggie." "So what's the problem?" Dan asked. "Although France does not celebrate Thanksgiving, he was allowed to return home for Thanksgiving. She came here on Wednesday night to stay with me. He went to bed as soon as he arrived, so we couldn't talk," she said. "Said on Thursday, tomorrow. He woke up very late and was told he needed to go back to bed because he was jet-lagged. He had Thanksgiving dinner with me and then took a taxi back to the airport." Joyce went to school in France. "You're lucky she cares enough about you to come home," Dan said. "Exactly," said Joyce. "I don't care about this girl at all. He's here because the court ordered him to spend Thanksgiving with me. The school gave him a week off. She did not return to Paris. He flew to Hawaii and had a wonderful time. Christmas. During the holidays, you have 10 days off until the end of the week. He's been here for 2 days and hasn't even bothered to pick up the phone and call me. I only knew where I was and what I was doing because I called Brian and talked to Maggie. Brian didn't want to tell me what happened, but apparently he forgot to tell Maggie not to tell me. It really broke my heart when he said they would be together as a family for the first time since Thanksgiving." When Jesse came in after dropping me off, everyone was waiting and eating Thanksgiving on Friday. They even videotape all the stupid football games and watch them together. I tried, but I'm not allowed to disturb anything. I even tried to invite Bill to Thanksgiving dinner. I imagined him sitting alone in a lonely bachelor pad and remembered the wonderful times we spent together during the holidays. Instead, Maggie told me how good Claudia looked in a bikini. They placed the turkeys in the yard behind the house where Bill bought them. Apparently, Claudia not only has a model body, but is also an excellent cook. I should be a medium. I always knew that bitch was after Bill. So I asked the investigators to follow them, but they never met and would not have met if I had not given him the case. I gave Bill a Christmas present just to let him know that I was still here and still thinking about him. He was returned safely. There's a big, ugly green sticker on top. It said, "No parcels will be accepted from this address." I called Bill on his cell phone. He had to give me his phone number so we could discuss issues related to Jessica since we had joint custody. I don't know why it's called joint custody. I needed to decide where I wanted to live. She decided to live with him. At first I thought he was being kind when he refused to pay my living expenses because I wasn't working. But he did it so that he wouldn't have to talk to me about it. All he did was never talk to me again. The only thing I got was a court order allowing me to visit Jessica. We don't talk or do anything while she's there. He just goes to his room, sleeps, and wakes up just in time to get to the damn airport. Anyway, I called Bill's cell phone and it rang about 8 times before he answered. Of course, Claudio. She was sure Bill was there and had just handed him the phone. I could hear music and people talking in the background. They looked like they were having a lot of fun. I asked Claudia if she was still working as Bill's assistant. She told me she would never work for anyone else. I asked her what else she did for him, and she simply replied, "Whatever he wanted." I'm almost crying. I decided to be more of a woman. I asked them if they had received my gift for Bill. He said it must have gotten lost in the mail. I think he lied to me so as not to hurt me. At this point, I thought she was on speakerphone because I asked if I could talk to Jessica. I heard Jessica whisper, "No." Now that everyone heard me, I swallowed my damn pride and asked the dog if I could fly over to celebrate Christmas with him and give him presents. She didn't even let me answer. She just said, "Oh wait, this is Jessica." My daughter answered the phone. I told her I hadn't heard from her in almost a month. He hasn't called or emailed me since Thanksgiving. She said she was busy with school and everything else. I asked him what he was doing. "I wanted this for Christmas." She said, "Can you believe it? The best mother I can be." Then the little whore told me that her father and stepmother would do something else. Bill is not yet married to Claudia. They live together, but she allowed me to become my daughter's mother before Jessica. Even my mother accused me of this. She is always against what I do. She told me I must have been crazy for a while. Perhaps it was a midlife crisis. I had hormonal problems, temporary madness. "Bill loves you," he said. "It takes time." But time ran out, and my husband continued to live without me. Now my mother blames me for not being able to see my grandchildren. Then Claudia did the worst. He arranged for my mom to fly to Hawaii for Christmas because Bill's parents were there for Thanksgiving. So when Maggie said the whole family was coming, she meant it. Deep down, I am sure that my husband still loves me. Therefore, he is not married to Claudia and has no plans to do so. He's not done with me yet. Imagine, you have a wife who is younger than me. Than me, but are you still trying to forget me? He must really love me as he tells me. How could I get tired of this? From this love? I'm sitting here now, my ass is getting bigger and bigger, but deep down I knew it was only a matter of time before Bill forgot about my wife. I dealt with sex, but I couldn't deal with cheating. I lost my perfect one, life, because of little lies.